Thank you for reminding me to put my audio on. Thank you. No sound. I got it. It's cool. Hopefully you're good now. All right. So what are we trying to do today? So we're trying to do this micro front end introduction that I did on Free Code Camp. That is 2 hours long. So we'll see how far we get through. But if you have any questions along the way, let me know, and we'll see where we go. So okay, so what is module federation and what is micro-frontends? So micro-frontends are a way of sharing UI between two applications, or sharing UI. Honestly, it doesn't need necessarily be around two applications. So okay, yeah, awesome. Ah, crazy. Okay. Hey, it's my first time live streaming, like, I don't know, probably 6 months, if that. I mean, that's crazy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump right into the heart of the action, and then we will kind of step back and talk about what all is going on here. So I'm going to use PMPX, create MF app, and that's just a cool like helper thing that allows you to build out apps really quickly. So in this case, I'm going to build an app called the homepage. So we're going to have multiple apps that serve a single site. So for example, if you're, let's say you're a major shoe retailer in the Pacific Northwest and you have that.com, then you're going to have a homepage that's on that.com, and you're going to have, a PDP page, and those are going to be different applications. So this one's going to be the homepage, and it's going to be type of application. I'll put it on port 3000, and I'm going to do it in React and in JavaScript and use Tailwind. So this is just like a really handy helper builder function that you can use to just go and build apps that have, we'll take a look in a second. I'll go and do the other one, but let me go and do yarn and yarn start. And I'll create another terminal. And we'll do this again because we have to have two apps in order to share components between those apps. So we'll do PMPX, create MF app. And I don't know why it always wants to like reinstall itself. Shouldn't it be in cache? Anyway, okay, so this time we're going to pick, what do we pick? PDP, that's the one. VS Code themes and plugins. So this is Nightwolf Black, and it's Mona Lisa is the font. And I generally have GitHub Copilot running, and that is running right now. I guess it's behind me, kind of down in the corner there, but you can see the little face of GitHub Copilot. There it is, right here. So there you go. So it is enabled currently. Okay, so let's do another application. Again, this one's gonna be on port 3001. We don't want those to conflict. But look at all these things that you can do. You can do Inferno, which I have no idea what Inferno is. I just kind of I was on vacation and I just started like adding frameworks. If anything had like more than 1,000 downloads, I would a month, I would put it in here. Lit and Mithra and Preact and Solid and Svelte and Vanilla and all this, and Vue and Vue 2 and Vue 3. Angular does support this, but it's got that whole like Angular CLI thing. So that was just kind of a pain in the butt. These are all the kind of frameworks that you can just npm install and go for, and maybe make some small modifications to Babel, and they're good. Okay, so we're going to do React here, and then JavaScript and Tailwind again. And in that one, I'm going to go into the PDP page, and I'm going to do yarn and yarn start. Same thing as before. And let's go over and take a look at the browser, and that is the stunning, beautiful browser. Basically, this is the home page. It's on port 3000. It's running React and JavaScript and Tailwind. And in a second here, it's going to pop up. Does MPX work as well? Yeah. The reason I picked PMPX is because I had a Windows user who was like, MPX doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so he's like, but PMPX does. So I'm using PMPX because for all my Windows friends out there. Okay, cool. So let's continue on. And there you go. So that should be on 3001. I don't know what, localhost 3001. Yeah, cool. Great. Awesome. Okay, so let's say that the homepage team decides they're going to go build the header, right? So they're going to go and build a new header for our fidget world. We're selling fidget spinners. So I'm going to create a new file here called header.jsx. And we're going to bring in some code. And all it does is basically just bring in React, creates a default component. This is all Tailwind stuff. If you're familiar with Tailwind, this is pretty familiar. And let's also make a footer. My personal framework preference currently is Solid.js. I'm totally in love with Solid. To me, it's like I've done so much React over the past, I don't know, since React 0.13 that I'm really fluent in React. It feels very familiar, but some of the stuff that came around with hooks, it's great, but the whole dependencies and everything like that, that's a pain in the butt. So, or not a pain in the butt, but it's easy to make mistakes in those. And so I find that the Solid.js stuff, it handles those dependencies and that dependency framework much more easily. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to go and bring in the header footer. Okay, hold on. All right, let's just replace app then. There you go. Cool. All right, sounds good. So, all right, let's take a look. And we'll go over to homepage. Yeah, there you go. Looks nice. Great. Okay. So that's cool. But now the PDP team is like, hey, you've got this header now and this footer, and we don't want to go and rebuild all of that header. If I had to explain what Micro-Frontend is to an alien, how would I do it, and how is it different from React? Yeah, actually, let me do the alien explanation pretty soon here. So, okay, we'll keep that in mind as we go forward. So next thing I'm going to do is how do I share that header with that team? So one way to do it would be to go and extract the header into its own NPM library, but I'm going to use this module federation system. So I'm going to say header here, and I'm going to go to source header, and then I'm going to do the same thing for footer. And that's going to expose the header and footer from this application. So this is the home application, and it's got those files. So I'm going to go over here to my home application, and I'm going to restart it because I need to do that in order to pick up those changes. And I'll go back over here to 3000, and it should work. Not as fast as Vite, but fast still. And so this still works. Everything works about that. But I can also go and do /remote entry. And I get this new file that was created called remote entry. And what remote entry does is it's got a list of all of the modules that you share. So that would be these exposes right here. So header and footer. And then all of your dependencies that you're sharing. So in this case, you're sharing anything that is in the package.json deps, the dependencies, not the dev dependencies. And then for certain ones like React and React DOM, they're overridden to make sure that they work properly because React DOM and React need to be singletons. You can't have more than one instance of React on a page. Okay, so that's cool. So now in order to consume this, I'm going to go and be the PDP team. So let's go and close out these files. So I'm not going to overly confuse folks. And I'm going to go into their Webpack config. I'm going to say, cool. So the homepage team has put up their code using this module federation as a remote. And I'm going to call that remote host home. And I'm going to say home at, and then I'm going to give it that remote entry URL. And let's see. So now I've got to go and reboot that server. And just yarn start it. All right, cool. And let's go. Let's go back over here into source and then into app. And I'm going to go just copy and paste a little code out of here. So I'm going to import the header and the footer from and all that, because it's basically going to be the same thing. And I'll put it into PDP. And let's put it in here. And then I'm going to put inside here, I'm going to say PDP content. Yay. Right. And so if I hit save, it's going to blow up. So let's take a look. So I can't resolve the header and the footer. But if I change this to home and header and home and footer, then there you go. Cool. So let's talk alien explanation of this. Why do you want to do this, Mr. Alien? So the reason you want to do this way is because if you if you change header or footer on this page, you want everybody that comes to the site to see the same header, regardless of which application they're talking to. And if you bring in the header as a build time dependency, then anytime you need to update the header, you need to push that forward. Now, I'm not doing this right. So this is micro-frontends as an alien. Sorry. Well, let me just finish up with that though. So why is a runtime dependency different? Let's go and take a look at that for a second. So here I'm going to do footer or header, and I'm going to make a change. I'm going to call this, alien versus predator or whatever. Oh, that's awesome. I love how Copilot actually hinted predator. That's hilarious. Okay, so there you go, alien versus predator. And if I go over to PDP, alien versus predator. So what is a micro-frontend? Well, a micro-frontend is enough of a UI on the page to be important to the customer, right? And that would be not just a button, not just like a combo box or something like that, but a full piece of UI. So in that case, that would be like the header or the footer or a product selector or a product carousel, or, you can imagine all kinds of different, but in the atomic world, we talk about the UI as four or five different levels. Let's take a look, actually. Brad Frost, Atomic UI, Atomic Design, and we'll go and get that image. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So you've got atoms, and that's things like buttons and a label, molecules, or a text field, that would be an atom. And then a molecule would be a combination of multiples of those. For example, a labeled text field. And then organisms are a collection or are a UI that is made up of those parts and pieces. So an organism is made up of molecules and atoms. And in my world, or my thinking, it also adds state and the ability to go and make requests through APIs and things like that. So that's the level, this organism level, where I think micro-frontends make the most sense. All right, let me check up on my comments here. Wow, this is awesome. Thank you so much for showing up. I didn't know people would. I know I had to move this from yesterday, but yesterday was super hectic. All right, so how's this? Let me just catch up with a few things here. Nice catch you live. Nice catch you too, Henry. Thank you for your efforts. Awesome. Zoom out a bit, pretty please, on the code, like even that, or zoom. Okay, I don't know. You guys can tell me if my font's too big or small. It's way bigger than what I use when I'm working. I'm on Windows, don't have PMPX. MPX works just fine. Okay, well, live and learn. Can we use a full-featured TypeScript with module federation? That is a big question. And then if I use app 1, React 15, React 16, React 17, will it work perfectly in module federation? No. I don't think that's going to work in module federation. You would have to go and think about each one of those React versions as absolutely separate things. And you probably want to use something like single SPA to make that happen, because single SPA is what gives you kind of portability between like different frameworks. You can have a Vue component that fits on a React page or vice versa. Okay. And then can you use a setup in a production environment? Absolutely, you can use a setup in a production environment. The only thing about the production stuff is that you need to figure out these URLs, obviously, this localhost thing over here, down webpack config, this is gonna change. And also up here, this public path is gonna change. And so what you need to do is just basically put in a production check in here and then just tweak those values based on whether you're compiling for dev mode or production mode. Okay, so wow, these questions are great. Thank you. Can you cross frameworks state management, please? Yes, actually, as we go on, if we get there, we're answering a lot of questions as we go. So I don't know how far we're going to get with this, but I do use RxJS here because specifically it is not linked to any given framework. It is framework agnostic, right? So there's that's the value of using RxJS in this case. You can use anything that's framework agnostic. Redux is actually framework agnostic. In fact, I think even Redux Toolkit is framework agnostic, honestly. But other things like Valtio and Zustand and Jotai and Recoil, they're all connected. I'm pretty sure Recoil is too, to hardbound to React, which is nice from a developer perspective. If I'm using React, I only have to import one thing, right? But from a cross-platform perspective, that's not so great. Let me just make sure I'm done. Autocomplete terminal. Oh, terminal autocomplete is Fig, actually. I'm not sure. I'm kind of mets on Fig. Fig sometimes gets in the way. I'm not so happy about that. So module federation, is it a different way to share components between projects? Definitely, yes. It is a runtime dependency mechanism. Hilarious. Mortiza, it's funny because half of my viewers are on mobile and half of my viewers are on web. So in this case, I tend to make the font sizes large because I get a lot of complaints from mobile folks who want to watch my stuff on mobile, and they're like, your fonts are too small. Yeah, Recoil is cool. If you like Recoil, you should try out Jotai, actually. I'm not sure how Recoil development's going, but Jotai development's going great. And it's really cool. He's actually done some really cool integrations with Jotai. It's basically the same API, but he's done some great integrations with things like Xdate, React Query, some other cool things. So you can make atoms in Jotai, which are the same thing as atoms in Recoil. Atoms in Recoil, yeah, that was actually good. And but they can be like Xstate atoms, which is super cool. They can be little state machines. Could we use demo deploy to make a micro-FE? Straight to the repo, maybe. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, let me do some architecture diagramming here. So just to drill home about what exactly I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to show you this really cool thing. We'll call it. It's a diagram. Let's see, architecture.dio. So the moment that I make something dio, it's a diagram.io thing. And I'm going to put my sidebar away, and we can start diagramming this out. So cool. All right. So we've got our home app, and we've got our PDP app. And we are going to go, and we've got our header component, right? And that's fitting in. Oh, no, okay, hold on. I'm so silly about these things. Okay, here we go. So it's, yeah, okay, cool. And we'll also put that up there. Oh, that's cool. All right, so we got our home and our header and our footer. And they're sort of baked into this app, right? And we want this PDP to be able to access those. So what's one way to do that? Well, let's go make a new page. So this was like where we started. And then I'll make a new one. And what we're going to do is we're going to create an NPM library, which is what you normally do, right? And go and take our NPM library, and we're going to go extract those. We're going to put those in there. And we'll send that to the back or whatever. Cool. And now this homepage app, it would need to go and point itself at that NPM library. And the same thing with the PDP, right? And let's say that the NPM library changed. It went from like 1.0 to 1.01. Then these guys would have to rebuild, right? This one would have to go become like home 1.01, and this guy would have to become 1.01, and what a pain in the butt, right? And also think about it from the developer's perspective. Now, if I've got a bug in the header, I've got to go over into this other project and make all those changes, and what a pain in the butt that is. So that's not great. Okay, so what's another alternative? Well, another alternative is what I've seen at kind of mega companies before, which is like you go and you take these guys out and you make like this kind of weird like project that's kind of custom, like called like a header footer project. And it does a thing where it deploys basically like a frozen copy of stuff to S3, right? And that that code would be like basically some frosted JavaScript and then a frosted HTML and then some JavaScript that would go in and include that. And then you'd have an NPM, wow, okay, this is kind of weird, but NPM library that would point at that S3 store, and these guys would depend on it. Like that. There you go. So then here's the big deal. Why would you go through all this effort? Well, the cool thing is that this header footer team can go and push a new release to S3. And then these guys pick that release up for free because this NPM library is kind of soft linked with this. And when this gets updated, then this NPM library will go serve the new version of it. And that's how you create that runtime linking between those two things. But of course, what Module Federation does is it allows you to just really, really simply just go straight to the source. You just want the header and footer, you just go get the header footer, just like that. Just like that. Easy peasy. And it's built into Webpack 5. It's free. You can use it today. It's been in Webpack 5 for probably over a year now. And it's a great piece of architecture that just allows you to really quickly share between these applications. And it doesn't have the downsides that either of these two approaches have. Like this one, if I'm going to go have a bug, I get a JIRA and it's on the header. Now I got to go change which project I'm in. I got to go update everything. Same sort of thing over here, right? It's totally alien. In fact, actually, this is worse because this S3 thing that we've uploaded is probably going to be like vanilla JS or something like that. And it's not going to integrate well with my React. And so that's kind of a pain in the butt. This is sort of the best of both worlds, best of all worlds, right? From the homepage perspective, I just tweak the header, I just tweak the footer, push a new release, and away you go. And then from the PDP, and it's all React. And then, or it's all Vue, or it's all Svelte, or whatever your framework of choice is. And the PDP app is the same thing. So, and it just brings it in. What does PDP stand for? Product detail page. Yes. Awesome. Okay. So let me catch up again. So was that helpful at all in terms of like, and also you get to see a really cool plugin there. I'm really happy with this architecture diagram. It's very cool. Okay. So what about SSR? Oh God, SSR. SSR is a pain. Yeah, it's ugly. I mean, there's all kinds of problems with it about when do you update components, what's the semantics around that. It's terrible. It's just hard. I mean, SSR in all cases is hard. And I guess having been at a major shoe retailer in the Pacific Northwest and also Walmart, I can tell you actually sometimes server-side rendering is not the way you want to go. You want to go with something like static site generation, which I think is actually easier in this case because I think you can build your pages out so that they dynamically load in those micro-FEs and then do that connection. Okay, so let me talk about the downsides here. Let's go back and jump out of architecture mode and try looking at some downsides, right? So what's the potential issue there? Like, let me actually just jump back here for a second. So what's the potential issue of me having this setup, right? Well, the potential issue is I onboard junior programmer or senior programmer X, and they have no idea that any of this is actually happening, right? And so what they do is they make a change to header, and it works fine in home because they make the corresponding changes that required it in home. And then when they push it out, this PDP blows up. So let's go and walk through that and see how that happens. So this is a big risk. I'm not going to say this is without risk. And that's why I say, like, don't do runtime dependencies on everything because there are risks, right? There are good reasons to use NPM for stuff. So let's just say that we have a parameter here, or we're going to have app, right? And so we're going to pass into app, and instead of alien versus predator, we're going to say that it's app name, right? And so we're expecting that this header, you now pass it a property. That property is an object. The property is called app, and on that app there is name. So if I hit save, we'll go back over here to the home page. And if I hit refresh, boom, it blows up. So why does it blow up? Well, because I haven't passed that in. So let's go take a look at the console. And I'll make that bigger. Sorry, person who was saying my fonts are too big. I'm going to make it big. Cannot read the properties of undefined. Reading name because I didn't pass in app, right? So let's go fix that. I'm senior developer X. I know how to fix that problem. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to app and I'm going to say, cool, that's great. So app name is is homework, home page, something like that, something like that. Okay. And we'll go over here to Google Chrome and I'll refresh. And there we go. So now home works, cool. But and I push out that I release it, everything's great, on to the next Jira, my life is good, and I get this call, oh my gosh, we've blown up PDP because boom, PDP is down because PDP didn't understand that there was a contractual change here on how you include the header, right? They've got to go now and push out a new release that has, PDP page over here, or let me just product detail page. I apologize for using the e-commerce parlance. I've been in e-commerce for so long. It's just second habit. Okay, so there you go. So now the header, now that's back to working again. But that's the problem. So you can easily blow things up in this world. So let's keep it blown up and then see if there's a way in React to actually unblow it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Google for React error boundary. And we go to the awesome React docs. And here is the one time in your life nowadays that you need to have a class in React. And let's bring it in. So they have like a nice, safe, and we'll call this safe component.jsx. And so what's this thing doing? So we're going to export this as the default. And I got to import React. Cool. So what is this doing? Well, this is a class component. If you're not familiar with those, very old school. And it has a state on it. And this is how you define that state. And the state in this case says whether you've gotten an error or not. And then there's a static method called getDerivedStateFromError, which gets called when the component inside, and this is a lifecycle event, caught, meaning that there was a throw inside of this render, and therefore, and you get this component to catch, you get the error, you get all that information about it, which in this case, they put in this little log error to my service, which doesn't exist, so we'll just comment that out. And then once that throws, then it sets that error, and we can see down here in the render, which is the render part of a component, a class-based component, that we look to see if we got that has error state, and we get this super old school class components, and we put in there kind of, whoa, something went wrong, or whatever. You can put whatever you want in there, obviously. And otherwise, you render out those children. And this children is where you could potentially blow up. So I'm going to save that out, and I'm going to import that. Call it save component from save component. Cool. And then I'm going to wrap the header in that save component. So it's going to become a children. It's going to become the one item in children of save component. And we'll hit save there. And we'll go back over here to home or PDP. And yeah, cool. So something went wrong. So there's a way to kind of mitigate the potential downside of this. So what could you do in that case other than put in there something went wrong? You can actually, and I've got a video on this from a while back, but basically the idea of the video is that you would also have an NPM version of the header in this case, and you would render the NPM version that you would asynchronously load via bundle splitting. And so you get a nice fallback, right? In the best case, you get the most recent header, and in the worst case, you get the header that was maybe a couple releases back whenever you did your last push. So yeah, so that's one way to mitigate that issue. So and take away the issue around the runtime dependencies. All righty. So let me go check out my questions and all that and see how we go. Great overview of error boundary, the rescue, yay! If you do, is there a way to do versioning? Or, yes. So a while back, there was somebody who did some really cool work in using unpackage to push federated modules, and you actually would get that remote entry URL, but it would be, package name / version / remote entry. And you could even go and do put in like the tilde and the and the caret and do all that kind of cool versioning stuff, because unpackage does that for you. So that's really cool. And then I think unpackage itself is its own NPM server and module that you can run. So you could deploy that internally in your own, like if you're inside a company and you want to do that as a private repo, you could do that. Okay. All right, so let me go back. It's been a while since I did, that was the longest video I'd ever done, actually. That 2-hour video. It was like 4 hours to record all that. It was crazy. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about here is asynchronous loading, right? So let's do that. So, all right, that's cool. Holla. Okay. So now we've seen how to make header safe. We're not going to keep it safe. We're just going to go and fix it back to what it was because, that's kind of silly. So let's go here to header and then get rid of this and get rid of that and get rid of this. Cool. And that's going to make the header safe again. So let's just go through. So PDP is happy again and home is happy again. Great, cool. So I can now take out this safe component, right? So here's another cool thing. So let's say that these are things that you don't always want to load, right? So that's another thing. Like maybe you have an intersection observer or something like that, and you only want to load that product carousel when the intersection observer fires, meaning that the user scrolled up to that part of the page and you're like, oh, cool. They want to see something. So I'm going to give them their product carousel. So you asynchronously load stuff. So let's experiment by asynchronously loading this header over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let's see, const header equals, and I'm going to use react.lazy, and then I'm going to import the header like that. I think there's a little bit more that I need to do. Let me take a look. Or maybe that's it. Okay, cool. All right. And so let's save that. And I don't think it's going to work. So it's going to blow up. Yeah. Okay. But if I wrap that in a react.suspense and say that I've got a fallback of, oh, thank you, GitHub Copilot. So Copilot-y. It's funny. I was actually answering a question this morning. I'm doing it like a cool, 10 questions to YouTubers video where each of us answers 10 questions. And the first one is do you think AI will replace us? And I'm like, no, I use GitHub Copilot all the time. I don't think it's going to replace me, but I use it all the time and I like it. Okay, so this now works. Our little, we change this to an asynchronous load. We really can't see that, right? Because we're always loading it. So let's go and add a little state in here so that we can basically hit a button and then it'll load. So let's go and say load, set load. And then, oh, look at you. And then what we're going to do is going to say, okay, so if we're loading, then do the React suspense. Right? Cool. And then we got to set it. So let's go and make ourselves a button. And load that header. And we'll on-click handle that. And we'll say set load to true. Nice. All right. And then, you know what? Let's make a big class name wise. Text equals 4XL. Look at that thing. That's going to be a huge button. All right. So cool. Load the header. All right. Let's go over here and bring up our inspector so we can look at our network. And we can see all the JS that we've loaded thus far. So we've loaded the remote entry. We've loaded the footer right down here. And the footer is 1.1 kilobytes. And now we click load that header. And we get source header, also 1.1 kilobytes. But we haven't loaded it until we actually requested it. So if you've got that case where you've got some piece of optional UI, as I say, like a product carousel or something like that, then yes, you want to go and do this kind of asynchronous loading. So will this content be available on this channel for later? Actually, all of this is in the free Code Camp video that I was released, I think, on Wednesday. And this is really just for me to help you to help answer any questions that you have and get as far as we can into this. Okay, talking about folder structures for React. I should, definitely. Actually, I talked about it on React Roundup just recently, and that was kind of cool, but I haven't done a video on it, and I don't want to derail us too much in this. Can we do a video on single spa? Actually, I do have a video on single spa, and in fact, actually, I just released bluecollarcoder.netlify.app, and there you go. Ta-da! This is super new. I haven't really put, like this. I just literally finished this up last night, but y'all can have a look at it. You can bring up a filter, and it's got like all the stuff. You can, okay, I want to see anything with module federation in it or something like that. You can also go and get the module federation playlist over here, or you can get a roadmap for learning module federation. This is why I wanted to make it. Actually, it's kind of cool. Was to create this kind of roadmap to structure how to go through all the content, because there's just a whole lot of content that I've already published on this. I think I had like 34, 35 videos the last time on module federation. And yes, one of them is around single spa right there. It's got my big old face making silly faces. Does single spa work with Next.js? I haven't tried it. So single spa has two ways. So first off, for those who don't know what single spa is and why it's important. Let me talk about that, and then we'll talk about the different ways that single spa works. So single spa, the idea is, okay, so if you are in this example, it's really simple, right? It's two React apps talking to each other, and so that's going to work perfectly every time, unless you have different versions of React, like largely different versions of React. You don't have a problem, right? The problem is when you want to bring in, like, say, Vue components into your React app, or you want to do the inverse. You want to bring React into your Vue components, or onto your Vue pages or something like that. So how do you do that? Well, there's this awesome, and I mean awesome, and well-maintained project called Single Spa, and it's the most popular 800-pound gorilla in this space. And what it does is you can take a component and you parcelize it. You wrap it into what's called a parcel, and that parcel is a platform agnostic component, and it can be rendered in any application that supports the single spa client. So there's a Vue-based single spa client, there's a React-based single spa client, there's a React-based single spa parceler. But basically, you're creating these parcels, and by the time the thing gets into the parcel, you're 100%, normalized between the different Vue frameworks, which is great, super cool, awesome. Now, how does it work? Well, okay, so there's two elements to it. So first, you got to get the code on the page. And the first way, there's two ways to do that. You can use module federation, or you can use System.js. And module federation kind of works on Next.js. I haven't tried System.js. Certainly something worth looking into, but it's a little alien, right? It's different from, it's not Webpack, which is the Next.js native, where module federation is Webpack. So, okay, so once you get onto the page, then yeah, you use a single spa client for React, you bring in the parcel, you render it on the page, you should be good. But if you can get that done, then you're good. But that's why single spa is so interesting to folks. That's why every time you hear about micro-frontends, you also hear about two things. You hear about module federation and about single spa. You don't need single spa if you're just React talking to React. You don't need single spa if you're Vue 2 talking to Vue 2. You don't need single spa if you're Svelte talking to Svelte. You need single spa if you're something talking to something different. Hope that helps. Okay, so let's go Jack and take a look. And I love your cover photos. So cool. Thanks. Micro-FEs scale well. I think the whole point of Micro-FEs is actually scale better than what you have. And it's, see, here's the deal. So you get into these big companies, right? And there's not one big company. Like I can just talk about, for example, Walmart.com, right? Walmart.com, you go to Walmart.com, you're actually, as you traverse through the site, you're actually going through the applications of about 8 different teams. There's a homepage team whose sole job it is to manage just that one page. And then there's a cart team whose whole job is to manage just that one page, right? And so they need to be able to deploy independently. And that's why you get like that. That's why that is the case, because you want those teams to be able to not work on one monolithic application that gets pushed, because then you've got the train approach and it's just a pain in the butt, right? So that was to enable multiple teams to ship independently. But the problem is that the granularity there is too high, right? The granularity is at the granularity of a page. So this allows you to granularize even further down into the granularity of a component on the page. And now you can have a single team whose whole job it is to make just like the product carousel or something like that. And they can deploy independently. All right. Single page app. Yes, that's funny. If app 1 is using library Lodash and app 2 is using the same library Lodash, will the host ignore the same library? Yes. And there's all kinds of versioning infrastructure built into that module federation plugin and the way that that's maintained to make sure that it arbitrates the versioning. So if you've got load dash at one version and something else at another version, it will do that arbitration for you, and you can decide like, oh, okay, it's okay if I have two versions, right, or not. Right, then you get in the big company and have some legacy stuff that's 8 years old. That's another big reason, actually, why folks are so interested in micro-frontends, is because, like, let's say you've got a jQuery app from 10 years ago, or what I used to scaffold these two projects. Sorry, I should answer one question at a time. You get into a big company and you have some legacy stuff that's 8 years old. Yes, this is one of the reasons why these big companies are so interested in micro-frontends, because it allows them to migrate their legacy applications and upgrade them in parts and pieces, as opposed to like changing out the entire app. They get to change out just a part or a piece of that app. How do I scaffold the two projects? I use npx create mf app and best to deploy. One team does it all. Micro-frontend content with all the benefits of Next.js brings. Yeah, Lucas, again, so Next.js and micro-frontends, tricky. What you should do is talk to Versal and say, dang it, Versal, support module federation, because they've been prevaricating about the bush on module federation for about 3 major releases now. I mean, they're doing cool stuff. I'll grant you that, but I wish they would get real with module federation. Okay, so let's see. Let me continue on a little bit here. All right, so do we actually want to do this? Let's do this. Okay, so we're going to go full stack here. You ready for it? So the next thing we need to do is we are going to build out this homepage. Let's go back here to have all of our fidget spinners on there, right? And so we actually want to start building out this homepage application. So in order to do that, we need to build out a server. So let's go do that. So I am going to build out a server. This is going to be fun. We're going to go full stack in this bad boy. You ready for this? I'm excited. Okay, cool. But I don't think we can get to state sharing unless we actually have some interesting state to share. So let me do npx this time, and then do create mf app. And to the gentleman who asked how I scaffolded this, that's how I scaffold this. And I'm going to call this one server. And instead of picking an application this time, I'm going to pick an API server. Now I'm going to pick port 8080, and we've got all kinds of good templates for you. In this case, I'm going to use the Nest.js with the auth variant. And so what that does is it creates a Nest.js server that has authentication built into it. So that's pretty cool. It's got all the jots and everything ready to go. And so down in here in the modules, you've got like an authorized controller, if you're familiar with Nest.js, and that's the one that's going to check to make sure that you're logged in. And then you've got an unauthorized controller. And then you've got a directory full of public stuff. So that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to go and add our fidget spinners into our into our public app. So let's go, or into our public folder. So let me go do that kind of behind the scenes. Hope y'all are enjoying this. I mean, you know, this is just what I get to do while I'm waiting for the Miami Hurricanes to play. All right, so here we go. So, okay, public folder, come on, really? All right, come on. All right, cool. There we go. Look at that. Look at these cool fidget spinners, right? And so now I'm going to go into that server directory, and I'm going to yarn, and I'm going to yarn start. And that's going to bring up our server. Actually, you know what? I'll yarn dev, because that's a much nicer experience. Cool looking fidget spinner, right? I like it. A friend of mine was all into fidget spinners when I was just down the Bay Area for a short trip. And yeah. Oh, ASP. I don't know about it. I mean, ASP, yeah, you could do MFEs on an ASP app. I mean, you can do MFEs on a vanilla app. So you can use it basically on anything if you're willing to do the legwork. What version of Yarn am I using? That's a good question. Probably not the right one. Oh, there it is. Start dev. Well, Yarn V1 2217. If that helps. Okay. I apologize for my burp. Okay, so let's go over here to localhost 8080 and fidget 1. Oops. Cool, nice. So you see how what this allows you to do, right? So this is all really nice, a nice framework for building a proof of concept when it comes to like, hey, do we want to do MFEs locally? Cool. Well, how do I figure that out? Well, I got to go make a React app, and I've got to go, because you don't want to try and build this in your mega app that's going to have all kinds of crazy dependencies and all kinds of crazy issues, right? You're going to want to try it out in something simple and small first, and that's what that MPX Create MF app is all about. It's about giving you the ability to very quickly spin up React or Vue or whatever you need, a couple of different servers, maybe an API server if you need that to kind of get everything figured out. So then you can like go to the boss and say, hey, look, let me fire up these couple of servers and I'll show you how this is going to work. Okay. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to have products. We're going to have some products here. So I'm going to call this products. And everything's going to blow up here for a little while, but that's okay because, we're developers and we know how to do this. And we're going to call this products. And we're going to call this products because we want an unauthorized list of products. We want to be able to get the list of products. So there we go, products. And here we go. Let's unauthorized. We'll call that products. And we'll call this products. And we'll call this module over here, products from products.controller. Cool. All right, great. Wait, import products? Oh, products module. Duh. Okay, cool. And we'll go over here to controller, and I think that's the last thing. Oops, is it? No, it's module. That's it. Nest.js is really cool, but it feels very Java-y. I don't know if that's maybe that's a good thing. Maybe you like that. I don't know, but like for me, it feels very, very, very Java-y. And then I totally empathize with that person who said that my fonts were too big at this point because dang, I can hardly see just a few things on the page at this point. Okay, so cool. So now what we have is we have got the products route, and I can go over here to products. And I get back true. And why do I get back true? Well, if I go over here, make it a little bit bigger so we can see it true. If I go back over to our products controller, we can see the indexes returns true. So I can say, yo, live, you live, and make that a string. There we go. And yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. So now we have basically a REST endpoint, which is nice. And next thing we need to do is bring in our list of products. So I'm going to bring in this massive, massive data file. And I'm going to put that over here in the source. And we'll call that, come on, really? Be nice. Be nice to me. Products.ts. Paste that in there. And this basically just has, what is a product? It's got an ID, it's got a name, it's got a price and all that. And then the list of products, in this case, like a wheel spinner, price, all that. Yeah, the usual kind of stuff that you get. Okay, so now we just need to go and essentially just bring that in to our products controller, like so. And we need to return it. So here you go. So we're going to return products, and it's going to be an array of products. Right? Easy peasy. And there we go. Nice. That's a pretty decent looking REST API. And that'll give us the ability to show some spinners on our homepage and make it look really pretty. Okay, so I'm enjoying this. My girlfriend asked me why I'm watching someone code on a Saturday morning. So wait. She doesn't get me. Okay, that's between y'all and y'all. Okay, looks more complex compared to module federation. Can you do more videos on single spot? I am a single human. There's only so many videos that I can do. And I'm currently shopping around for a full-time job. So there's that. All right, one more thing before we head on out to back to our land of JavaScript. I'm also going to bring in a route, and that's going to allow us to get a single product. So instead of getting all the products, we just give it /ID, and it gives us the product at that ID. Pretty simple stuff. So let's go back over here to products, and then if I do like 5, then I get a rainbow flames spinner. And let's take a look and see what rainbow flames look like. That looks really pretty. Nice. I totally made up all these names, by the way. All of this is just made up. I put into GPT-3, which is like an AI thing. I literally just put in like flaming rainbow spinner. I added spinner for fun for all ages, and it came up with this garbage text, which is cool. That's awesome. Amazing what an AI can do nowadays, but it's all garbage. Who knows? Okay, so let us go, and we'll go over to our homepage, and then we'll go and create a new file. So I'm gonna get rid of all these. I have yet to close VS Code while I'm doing this, which is a neat trick, because I often close, as I'm closing out all the windows, I often end up closing VS Code along the way. So I'm going to call this products.ts, and it's basically just going to be our shim layer here. So it's going to say our API server's here. We've got a function called get products. It basically does a fetch and returns the JSON off of it. Same thing with product by ID. Does exactly what we did there before. And because we are a e-commerce shop, we need some way to format money. So I'm just going to export a currency thing for new international format for US dollars. Okay. So that's going to give us enough of a structure to allow us to put something on the screen. So what is that something? So let's go, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a new component, and we're going to call it home content.jsx. And I'm going to paste that in there. Cool. And it's going to go and get our products. And then I'm going to bring in, I'm sorry for all the copy and pasting here, but you do a 2-hour video, man. I'm not that good of a typist. So here's what we're going to do. So home content is going to maintain some state. It's going to have the list of products in it, and it's going to use an effect. And an effect is only going to get run once because it's got an empty dependency array, and it's going to do get products. And then when that resolves, because it's a promise, it's going to call set products with that list of products. And then it's going to format those bad boys. And then, so we got also currency in there, and that's done down here with the currency format. But otherwise, most of this is just the usual kind of what you'd see in an app that uses Tailwind. A bunch of classes, a map to go through all that. Seems like pretty good stuff. So, okay, so let's save that out. And then I'm going to go over here into the app, and I'm going to bring that in. Home content. And I'm going to go and change out home content for home content. Cool. All right, great. And let's take a look at home and see how we do. I'll refresh. Oh, that's beautiful. Nice. Okay. So nothing crazy going on here, right? So yes, it's a lot different than it was before, but that's just because I put some nice, Tailwind on the page. Let's go over here to sources, and network. That's what it is. That's what I wanted. And we can see that it's making the request out to products, and we're getting back our data, and then that's why this is all working. So it's not crazy. This is all just pretty standard stuff that you might see if you're not using GraphQL, which I don't recommend because I like GraphQL. Why didn't I use a service to get the product? I knew there are some like e-commerce sites that you know what? Well, okay, so a couple of things. When you make a splash screen or a thumbnail for a video, this is a little insider YouTube baseball here, right? You want stuff that's going to visually pop for people, right? You know, I'm looking at the YouTube page. I want something that's going to pop off the page, right? And honestly, beautiful looking fidget spinners as a backdrop, which I didn't do actually, is that it's a really good looking, it's like it draws the eyes, you know, whereas, you know, something that's not as flashy color wise, you know, it's just not going to look as good. I have used Pokemon in the past, but I think, you know, how would you buy and sell a Pokemon, right? And so I wanted to do an e-commerce example. I wanted to be flashy and good looking. So I have noticed, I think Shopify now, their hydrogen stuff, they use snowboards on theirs. Those look badass. So I might change that. But I think fidget spinners are cool. Okay, I apologize for the digression there. Okay, so now our PDP team is like, hey, that's cool and all, guys, but we love the fact that you gave us your header, and you've now got this code over here to get the products and get this one. Can we just grab that from you? You know, maybe it's doing some auth, maybe it's kind of complex or something like that. You know, in this case, it's not, but whatever. So, okay. So yes, the whole page team says, sure, you can reuse our code because we're good people. So we're going to go over here in our Webpack config, and we're going to scroll down here, and we're going to go and share out product, and it's going to be products.js. And why am I doing this? Why is this, you know, I'm obviously just continuing on doing the similar sort of thing as I was doing before. But I think what I wanted to get to with this one and why I do it here is because I want to show you that module federation isn't just about sharing UI. You can share anything. You could share I18N strings. You could share utility functions. You can share components. You can share basically anything you want. Okay, oops, what did I do wrong here? Can't resolve source products.js. Did I mess that up? Oh, we did products.ts. That's hilarious. JS. Okay, cool. All right. So, sorry, force a habit on that. My bad. In answer to the question about TS, yes, all of this can be done with TS, but it gets a lot more interesting because of the fact that TS runs at build time, and this is a runtime dependency, and so things get real interesting real fast. But there is a video on it, and I don't think my methodology has changed since that video came out. Okay. All right. So it looks like we're good. And now we've got that products also thing. So let's go over here and let's imagine that we are the PDP page, and I am going to make the PDP changes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to a regular header because I don't need the customer being able to decide whether they want to see our flashy header or not. I want to put a header on the page, right? So that makes sense. Okay. And we'll just get the header. Cool. And get rid of that. Load the header. Cool. All right. Yes. Good. Okay. Got MFE inspiration from you. Keep it up. Thanks. All right. We're in. This is really cool. And thank you for sticking around. If you're sticking around, if not, that's cool too. I don't think I'm competing against a SpaceX launch today, so that's always good. Okay, so I'm going to go in new file, PDP content. Not that I don't like SpaceX. Go ahead and shoot your rockets, but I don't think I'm going to compete against you when it comes to a time slot. Okay, so I'm going to go bring in that PDP content. This is basically just a placeholder. I'm going to copy and paste that. I'm going to use, if you're not familiar with VS Code, this is Command D to extend selection. Kind of nice. Very handy. Also a good party trick to show people like, oh, look at me. I can go and edit in multiple places simultaneously. And it's just crazy. All right. And we'll go over here to that, and that blows up. And why does it blow up? So, okay, why are you blowing up? Product. This seems like it should work. Why is this working? This is PDP. Oh, okay. It's local. All right. Hey, look at that. Okay, so now we got product 1. Cool. And I'm going to go and get the data. Am I going to go do that? Yes. First thing I'm going to do is actually, show the thing on the page. How about that? And then we're going to use React Router DOM to actually make this work the right way. Okay, so let's go and put in the code and we'll talk about it. So, okay, so that's not going to work. All right, okay. So we are going to do that get product by ID and the currency from home/products. So we're going to go grab that code, and then we are going to create a product state. We're going to use an effect on that where we look at the ID, which is going to be hard-coded to 1. Let's change it up to like 5 for fun. And we're going to go get that product by ID and then set that product. And if we have a product, meaning that we've got an ID and we've loaded it, then, or if we don't have one, then we short circuit, we return null. Obviously, for folks just learning React, this short circuit should always come after all of the hooks because you don't want to have hooks changing based on state. You don't want to have conditional hooks. That doesn't work. And then we render this out. We got an image and basically all of the same stuff we had before, but we are adding on the description because we have the space because we're the detail page. We're adding the detail to it. Ooh, look at that. Okay, so this is Rainbow Flames, fun for all ages. There you go. Let's go check out another one. Let's check out 6. Refresh. There you go. We're jamming, man. Okay, cool. Tailwind is trash. Your videos were great. Okay, whatever. All right, so let's say that we want products 1, right? So anything we do here, any URL we give this is going to give us back the same stuff. And that's an interesting question as to why even that happens. So why that happens, if you look over here at the Webpack config, what we're doing is we're running a dev server on port 3001. And when you set this history API fallback to true, that tells it whatever URL you get, just put out, the main entry point. And that's why any URL works, which is great because now we can go take React Router DOM and we can actually make a route for this products and then put in and change it out. So we look at the ID here and then we put in the right product. Cool. All right, so let's do that. Let us, and actually, interesting question for y'all. I did get a question recently about NPM and like why I don't use NPM, why I use Yarn. And for me, honestly, it was originally about workspaces way in the day. Like NPM wasn't handling workspaces properly, but Yarn was. But now I don't know. I think it's more just like force of habit really at this point. So I'm curious. How is that split? Like, do you all use NPM? Do you use Yarn? Am I old school doing Yarn? I don't know. Felt like I was new school there. Although Yarn kind of went a little wiggly with the whole like berry thing. It was one of those things like Angular where they did the 1.5 to 2.0 change and they lost like half the developers in that go because there was no reverse compatibility. It was not great. Okay, so now we're bringing in React Router and we got route, and switch. And what we're going to do is we're going to replace this content with some routing. So it's basically exactly the same thing. We wrapped the app in router. And then within the content section, we added a switch and a route. And you got the product ID. And then again, we're going to go to the PDP content, which is right here. So let's take a look. And hit refresh. And it doesn't work. Yay! That's great. Okay, cool. So why doesn't it work? Let's see. Products. Yeah, okay. Well, why it doesn't work is because I didn't put in the right URL. So product 6, no, still doesn't work. That's cool. PDB content. Oh, the fun that is live coding. Error element. Oh, is that true? I wonder, actually, am I bringing in like 6? I probably have an unbounded React router DOM, and that's probably bringing in 6, which is probably, is this element? Nope. Component? Nope. Hold on. Element type is invalid. Expected a string. That's weird. PDP content, component, content. Okay. That's weird. So let me just make sure which version of React Router DOM I'm on. I'm on 6 now. Okay, cool. That's probably like the new default React Router DOM. Yeah, v6 docs. Element. Okay, it is element. So that should work. Element. All right. PDP. And interesting. Browser router. Oh, okay. I mean, this is actually fairly different. So let's take a look. Ah, routes. Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, fun. Yay, look at us. We are like live changing router 5 to router 6 on the fly. This is actually like really, like I literally had to do this just last night. So, whew, but it's on a different thing. It was on that blue collar coder Netlify app. This is also React Router v6, and so I had to do this exactly same thing kind of last night. So, thank goodness it was in the hybrid. Okay. Yeah, so there we go. That's cool. Now that worked, we can go and change out this param. So I can go over here and use params from React Router DOM. And we'll go and do that. And that should work. Let's see. Yeah, okay. I'm going to give that a working. Yeah. Ta-da! Woo! Yeah, I like React Router DOM. I also like React Location. I don't know if y'all have... Oh. Let's just do that then. React Location is Tanner Inslee's version of kind of competitor with React Router. And he's done some great stuff. Tanner Inslee is behind like React Query, which is very, very cool. And he's basically slowly evolving this TanStack stuff, which is cool. All right, so nice. Look at us. We changed out from V5 to V6, just like that. Okay, so now we've seen how to share MFEs, and we've shown how to go and share functions. Let's talk about how to share state. And in order to do that, what we really want to do is we want to have, oops, sorry, okay. What we really want to do is maintain something that is statefully important as we go between these applications, right? And the statefully important thing would be the JOT. So what is a JOT? JOT is a JWT or JSON Web Token. Why is it called a JOT? Don't ask me. Otherwise it would be a JWT, which I think is weird. So we need something. We need to authorize ourselves first, and a good thing that we have an authorized server. So we have the server that we had before, and we are currently using an unauthorized route for getting the products because you want to show the people what they want to buy before you have to have them log in order to buy it. So, okay, let me just catch up on any context API maybe. By the way, yes, context APIs, context works. Anything in React works. Featuring is very important. Don't go to sleep yet. I will try and get through into this as quickly as I can. But if I don't get there, by the way, just go over to Free Code Camp and continue on, because basically I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm just answering your questions as I go. Okay, so I'm going to change this this authorized set of controller stuff to cart, because it's going to be, we want the cart to be authorized, right? Everybody should have their own cart. So I'm going to implement the cart as our authorized routes. So let's go here in a cart controller, and I'm going to do cart, and I'm going to do cart controller, and let's see, I think that's cool. All right, nice. And under cart modules, cart controller, and this is going to be called cart module. Okay. And then down here in the app modules, I'll call this cart module, because it is a cart module. It's a good thing. And cart module down here, and away we go. Cool, hopefully fine. All right, so let's go back over and see if we are blowing stuff up. Don't want to blow stuff up. So let's see, localhost 8080 cart. Yeah, unauthorized, as you would imagine, right? So is this Angular? Is what Angular? Like the state sharing? I could do Angular, but outside of the scope of this. But I do have videos on using Angular with module federation. Okay, so let's go just finish off the cart first, and then I'll show you how this is actually going to work. If you don't understand about JOTs, you will learn something new about JOTs, which is really cool. How authentication works and all that. So, okay, so I'm going to define that we have a cart, and a cart has its cart items, and the cart contains a set of products, but we extend the product type or interface with quantity, because you maybe want two of the same fidget spinner. Okay, and we're going to make a little handy helper function called initialize cart, and then we are going to have some carts for our different users. So currently, by default, this scaffolded Nest.js server has some users in it. So let's take a look at our user service, and it's got user ID 1 is Sally, and she's got password of 123, and user ID 2 is Maria, and she's also got password of 123. So we're going to make some carts for Sally and Maria to start off with. And Sally, who's 1, is going to have 0, 2, and 4 and as indices inside of the products. So product 0, product 2, product 4. And then Maria is going to have 1 and 3. So that's just going to give us something to go and get, our initial cart, right? And then we're going to replace the get here with the returning of the cart. So we're going to get a user ID, and that's going to come in from this JOT guard. And so what happens is you can guard routes inside of Nest.js. And in this case, we're using a JOT guard. And that JOT guard is basically saying, okay, cool. If you pass me a JOT token as part of the header, I'm going to go and authenticate you against that. And that JOT has encoded in it and scrambled, basically, your user ID. So we're going to use that to go and get your user. And let's see, I'm going to add on a little bit more before we continue on. So I'm going to have a post, and post is going to go and allow us to just add an item. So it's a REST API. I've chosen post in this case so that you post to the cart, and then you get a new item in the cart. And I'm also going to delete, and then delete when you call that is going to add body here, and delete is going to clear the cart. So let's go down and take a look at what post does. So post calls this method called create. It takes that request, which is again guarded by that JOT, which is going to give us our user ID. The body of the post message is going to have the ID in it. That ID is going to be a string. We then basically look to go and see, do I already have one in my cart? And if I do have one in my cart, then I add one onto the quantity. And if I don't, then I just push a new item onto my cart. Pretty simple stuff. And then I return my cart. And then finally, the delete, which is what's going to go and actually delete the cart. So kind of need to test this a little bit before we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up another terminal. And here's a cool thing. So I put a lot of time into this README up here. And the README actually kind of walks you through how to do this. So how to authorize against stuff. So I'm just going to change unauthorized here to cart, and also cart there, and cart. Oops. So there's your authorization and cart again. Okay. So let's do a curl. So I'm basically going to show you what the client is going to do. So the first thing the client's going to do is it's going to call, a client would call cart, and now there's no authorization, right? You have not passed a header that would have that jot in it. So you need to authorize. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this curl. Nice thing, it's all in the README, all good to go. You just copy and paste. So I'm going to do that curl. And what is that? Well, that curls the auth login endpoint. It passes in Maria and the password as data, as a JSON blob, and passes a header type of application JSON. Always something that's easy to forget to do that. And now the return is that jot, that JSON web token. So now we can go back in and we can use that JSON web token by doing another curl. And we hit the same endpoint, so localhost cart. And then we also pass that authentication, that bearer. So I'm going to pass it that bearer. I'm going to paste in that jot that we just got back. And that's going to tell me that I am, well, what did I do? I think it was Maria. Yeah, Maria123. And it's giving me back all of the cart items because it now knows, given that jot, I am Maria and I can log in. So that's cool. Now we have an authorized way. We have a way of testing whether, or showing and demonstrating how to maintain that jot and that user identity in the Micro-FEs system, which is really cool. Which is like the number one question I get is, what data, how to share data, and what data to share. And so we'll start in terms of what data to share, things like the user identity, and if you're an e-commerce app, global things like what's in the cart. But I think it's very important also to make sure they don't share too much, because sharing too much, right, you get into versioning around that shared data. So yeah, I wouldn't overshare when it comes to MFEs. Okay, so before we go into before we go into the next thing, let me just make sure that we got that. Helps the algorithm, y'all. Cool. Using GitHub Copilot right now. Yes, I am. In the server, which is TypeScript. That's why somebody. Oh, I see. Yes, it is very. Yes, you're right. It is very similar to Angular code. Yeah, that's one. It looks a lot like Java. Okay. And then are guards like middleware in Node.js? Yes. In like Express? Sure, yeah. Okay. Nest.js is just awesome, by the way. Huge fan of that. So let's go back over to now we're going to make another terminal, and we're going to make another app. So I'm going to make the cart app. And so we got a new team that's coming in, and their whole job is to just do the cart. So the first thing they're going to do is go and create a library that is going to help us access that cart. And they're going to, so here we go. We're going to make an application called cart. It's going to be on 3002 this time. And it's, again, going to be a React app in JavaScript and Tailwind. Ooh, geez. Am I in the right directory? Yes. Okay, cool. Oh, yeah. I just gave myself a little bit of a heart attack there. Okay, so let's go into that cart directory and then yarn and yarn start. Oh, wait. Before I get there, let's yarn. Okay, cool. Before I do that, I am going to use RxJS for doing the state sharing. And the reason being that it's platform agnostic. If you're not familiar with RxJS, it is the JavaScript version of the Rx or reactive state management system, which is basically a system where you can go and create observables and then subscribe and publish events to those observables. And so in this case, the observable would be the cart and the jot. So, okay, so now I'm going to add RxJS. And, honestly, RxJS is just an awesome thing to know, regardless of anything we do here today. So, if you're not familiar with RxJS, it's definitely worth knowing. The RxJS pattern is really cool because basically there's for Rx for Java, there's Rx for C# probably, there's Rx for JS, and it's just good stuff. Okay, so let's do yarn start and get that server running. Coolio. And then we'll go over in here, and I'm going to go create a file called cart.js, which is going to have the beginnings of our cart system. So we're going to bring in behavior subject from RxJS, and it's going to store our jot. So we're going to create a new behavior subject, going to start it off with null. And so the way that RxJS works is if you give it a new value, you give it a new value by doing next. So you say next, and you can say, you know, foobar, and there you go. And then I can subscribe to it by saying jot.subscribe, and then I put a function in there, and that function is going to get called with a new value anytime that changes. All right, so now it will be called with foobar, and then it'll be called with foobaz. And in addition, you can also do, because it's a behavior subject, you can also do jwt.value and get its current value at any time. That's why I use behavior subject as opposed to subject. If you're an RxJS expert, you may be choking on your coffee right now. I apologize for that. I am not a JavaScript an RxJS expert. I'm an occasional RxJS user. All right, so let's bring in our login function. So, you know, like we had the product.js file that had all the product stuff. Now we're doing basically the same thing for the cart. And in this case, we're going to call that API server. We're going to call that auth login like we had in that README from before. We're going to post to that, and we're going to give it the username and the password. That's going to come back as that text piece that's encoded JSON, and it's going to have that data access token in there. So then we're going to use that jwt.next to send off that token into JWT. So that's going to tell whatever consumer that here's the value, right? So let's go over into our app and try this out. So I am going to go in here, and I'm going to go open this up and return that. And I'm going to go over here and bring in login from our cart. And let's see. So, oh, I'm also going to bring the jot. And let's see. I will also, let's see, put it in there, JWT, and that's JWT.value. And let's see. Let's see how we go. Okay, so it should be nothing. It should be empty, right? Perfect. Good starting point. And now if I put a react.useEffect in here, what I can do is I can log in, and I can give it Sally123. But now, okay, so one problem is that we're not subscribed to it, right? We can go and log in, but this value is going to change, and React isn't going to know about that. So we need to connect that value. We need to connect, JWT to React. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a local copy of current jot and set current jot to be jot.value. And then before we do this, I'm going to subscribe to, oh yeah, that's actually pretty good. Okay, to set, and that will call set current jot. And then we will set the current jot value there. And I think this works. Yay, look at that. It does. Cool. Nice. Okay, so that actually went off. It did a login, and that is the contents of the jot. So that shows us that everything is working now, kind of front to back. And you get sort of a nascent UI based on that. It's a gnarly, terrible UI that requires people to know JavaScript in order to log in, but it's a UI nonetheless. Ship it. Okay, let me just see if I can catch up with the. All right. Oh, we're having a React Svelte debate. Cool. Actually, I have a video on using Svelte with this. Yeah, I think Svelte and SolidJS are having a good time right now. And I think Svelte's actually having a better time just on numbers than React is, and then, well, not React, but than SolidJS is. But there is a definite need out there for a lightweight framework that does fine-grained updates. And the two big competitors would be Svelte and SolidJS. So, definitely worth looking into both of those. Not trying to steal subscribers. Oh, thank you, Miguel. I appreciate it. You should go check out Miguel Coder's YouTube channel. All right. Yes, exactly. Ship it. Ship it. There was a database company, very large name, starts with an O, that I used to hang out with some folks that worked there, and there was an internal joke about how the internal joke was that the maxim was, if it tars, ship it. And if you're not familiar with like Unix stuff, any file will tar. So that was the kind of joke around that. Okay, so ship it. So I'm going to go and pull in three different files. So or three different remotes. I'm going to pull in home, which is, we had that before. I'm going to pull in PDP. We're not going to use that yet. And I'm going to pull in myself. That's kind of interesting. So if I go back over here to my app, and I go over here and I restart cart, yarn start. All right. And we get our beautiful cart app here. Just gorgeous, gorgeous UI on this. Should work. Come on. God, man. There we go. Okay, that's going. I'm so used to Vite at the moment that it is a little pokey. Okay, especially when you're trying to do a demo. So instead of getting it from ./cart, I'm actually going to get it from cart/cart. So it's going to go through module federation to get its own file. Does it work? No, it doesn't. That's great. You know why though? Because I forgot to expose it. Because I'm a fool. So let's go and fix that too. So let's go over here to and let's expose cart from source cart. Nice. Okay. But of course I have to reboot. So let's try one more time. Okay. So while it's doing that, while we're waiting for Webpack to boot, why would I want to go and refer to myself? What it allows you to do is actually write code that can run anywhere. And later on, if we get there, which probably won't because we're only got 30 minutes left, and you should look at the free Code Camp video for this. What you'll actually do is have every app can serve the routes of every other app. And it is this ability for an application to consume its own remote that allows for that architecture. It's a very cool architecture that, if you are doing this multi-app infrastructure that some of these larger companies are, EDE testing and unit testing in that environment can be extremely, or EDE testing in particular can be extremely challenging. So it is an architecture, this full site federation, that allows you to go and do that, solves that problem for those companies. Okay, but I think I'm way off the beaten path of that. So let's continue on. And I'm going to go and make a new file called cart content. And hopefully I can get us, I want to get us to where we shared some content and shared state. Just if we can get that done, then I will consider this a win after having spent so much time with y'all. Okay, so we'll start off. We got our cart content, and so I'm going to race through this a little bit, and then I'm going to go back over into our app, and I'm going to have our app. Let's make some space so people can see it. And this is going to bring in that header and that cart content. And let's take a look. Looking good. Man, that is way zoomed out. Okay, cool. Nice. All right. Right. And then I'm going to show basically what I had before. Sorry. Okay, here we go. There we go. So we will log in and we will subscribe to that RxJS. And wait, and that's going to give us our, no, it's not. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. I need to import Jot from cart. And also login. Sorry. Cool. Okay. We're back at it. All right, great. Hey, welcome, welcome to Turkey. That's awesome. Okay, so there's a good reason I'm doing this, but I need to go and add a library to each one of my apps. Man, this is called Remix Icons. This is the only time I need to do this. Come on, there we go. And also in Home. So this is an icon package. I'm using, this cute little like icon. You click on it and it creates a login screen. Okay, cool. So, okay, so let's restart our servers. Here on start. I apologize right now for, how many servers I have to run to get this going. You can hear my poor little MacBook just going "Wah!" in the background. Okay. What am I in? Oh, whoa. Well, I really went out there. Okay, here we go. Cool, that'll work. All right, cool. Okay, so I'm, whoa. I want to get to sharing state so you can show how this works for you. Is there a way I can get there faster? Let me think about that while I'm doing this. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is, I think I'm just going to get to the point where I can log in and I can show you that we're logged in. Okay, so I'm going to create a little React hook called use logged in, and basically it's basically doing exactly what we had before. So we got the state, and it's going to see if we are logged in, if we have a jot, and then it's going to set that value based on that subscription, right? So pretty simple stuff. And then we're going to create a login widget that has some UI that allows us to log in. So log in. Right. So we bring in login and use logged in from the cart. And then we have that value, use logged in. We have a show login that we've flipped based on that. And then we have our username and our password that we're going to show in this nice little login pop-up. We're going to use a little fingerprint from that remix icons that I just brought in. And then it'll have this nice UI on it. So, okay. So this is probably good enough for me to show shared state. So I'm going to go and use this login on this home page. Import the login. And all this code is, of course, available to you on GitHub, as I love to say, because it's true. And we'll put in the login in here. And that should give us a little fingerprinty sort of thing, which it doesn't. Fantastic. So let's go and see what happened. All right, come on. Console, please. Use state is not defined. Ooh, that's a good one. Oh, right. Yes, okay. Over here, use state and use effect. So I need to bring that in. Use state and use effect from React. Cool. Nice. Okay. And, oh, we were logged in. Okay, so I don't want to auto log in. What I want to do is over here in cart content, get rid of my auto logging in thing. Okay, just get rid of the login. And that should, All right, hold up. Why is that not working? All right, use logged in, okay. All right. Nope. Sure, that works. Logged in is false. Cool. All right. So if not logged in, if logged in, return null. Cool. All right, great. And oh, I know what it is. Duh. Okay, sorry. This is the silliest little thing that I missed. I didn't bring in the icon package. So it's trying to show an icon and the icon isn't there. Boy, that's the way that you want to stall your heart out. Okay, great, cool. So I click on this and it's got our Sally and I hit login and there we go. Now we got a jot. Awesome, cool. So here's what I want to do. I actually want to go and bring this into the header, right? So the first thing I need to do is turn that micro-FE, that login micro-FE. I'm I'm going to go and expose it from here. So we're exposing the cart and we're exposing the login. And it's a JSX file. All right, let's restart that. Cool. Oh, did I not hit save? Oh, man. Hate it when that happens. Okay. Come on. Right, okay, cool. Why isn't that working? Let me go take a look at my, it's turkey month. It is turkey month. And girl, you're the only observable I'm subscribed to. Oh, that's cute. Okay, so let's go over here and, all right, close this out. And now our header, of course, is over in the app and in home. So we need to go over here and we need to bring in cart as a remote. So let's go over into our cart Webpack config because it brings in everybody. So we'll just copy and paste all that. And we'll bring it over to our Webpack config. Cool. And then restart that one. All right. And then we'll go over into our header and we'll bring in login from cart login. And we'll use it. So, you know, do like a little flexboxy type thing here. Yeah, well, we need 2 divs, right? Because that's the deal with React. You just keep on hitting. You know, it was not broken if you don't have like 10 different layers of divs on it and divs on it. Okay, and then we'll do class flex end or flex grow, and we'll put in there flex end, and we'll put in our login. Oh, and we'll make this relative. All right, great. Okay, refresh. And, oh, right. And I forgot to do the remix icon thing. So let me go do that. Same error as before. I didn't bring in the icon package. Oh, look at that. So now we've got this, we got a thumbprint over here and we can log in. Cool. Okay. So let's say I log in and now that disappears because I'm logged in. In the free CodeCamp version, that brings up a cart. But we're not, I don't think we're gonna get there. I mean, we got only 20 minutes left. Maybe we can do it. Maybe we can do it. But what I want to do is if we're logged in, then I want to show and add to cart button down here. So I'm going to go over into our home content. And it's going to bring in that nifty little use logged in hook from cart hooks, or cart. Yeah, there you go. Let's see. All right. Okay. Yep. Okay. Got it. Okay. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to bring that into here. There's my log. If you care, by the way, I've got a script over on my right-hand side. So that's why I'm constantly peering off to the right because, you know, and at a certain point, you can't do a video this big without having a script. Okay, so here we go. So inside of each product, we're going to put in here and we're going to say if it's logged in, then we want to do add to cart. But we don't have an add to cart at this point, so it's just say nothing at this point. Okay, but now let's refresh. And here we go. We're going to hit login. And look at that, cool. So why is that cool? So it's cool because what's happening here is that both the login UI and also from the cart and also this home content, which is showing these products, are subscribed to the same cart, the same module. And so that cart module then has that one RxJS observable that flips based on the state. And so you can get the micro-FE, which is the little thumb thing over here. This is the micro-FE, is communicating with the base page itself, right? Through that RxJS observable. Sorry for that. I should have been drinking water this whole time, as opposed to drinking coffee. Okay, so yeah, so shall we try? Well, you can make it even cooler. Like I feel like Y icon is imported in the application side. Yes, that's a really good point. So Greenwish, you make a great point. So the reason that it has to be imported like that is because it's not CSS in JS. It's literally like CSS. I think it's like SVGs kind of thing. Is this remix icon stuff. So the only thing that you can use module federation for is JS. So if it ain't JS, it ain't getting shared. And so I think that's why when it comes to CSS, my recommendation, is between the apps, make sure that like if you're sharing like a component library or in particular like one of these CSS libraries, that all the apps in your ecosystem agree, right? That here's the base stuff that's going to be on the page. In this case, it's the remix icon stuff. But that's actually, and I didn't talk about this in the video, and thank you for bringing it up. That's one of the things that I didn't talk about was why, or maybe I did, but I don't remember talking about it, about why it's so important to go and have a commonality on all of the host pages so that you can see it. Okay, so you can share those common elements, like in this case, that CSS library. Well, what's one more thing also? PDP, let's go over there. And so can the PDP page also log in? Yes, cool. Check that out. The PDP page can log in as well. That is so cool. I mean, come on. Like we literally started like an hour and 44 minutes ago. I mean, come on. That's pretty cool. What if you update React only in one component? Not sure I understand. Hit me that one. Do you need to update React everywhere? Oh, like React version? Depends on the versioning. Depends on the version number. But yeah, that's the thing about React. You can only have one version of React on a page at a time. So, that's a problem whether you're using this or any other methodology. Is that React problem? Just FYI, you get this really nasty little message from React. No, it's actually not nasty. It's actually really cool, but it's heart sinking when you see it about you having multiple versions of React on the same page, and you can get it outside of React, of MFEs and module federation. You can get it when you import like an older component library. So let's say you're on React 18 and you bring in a library that's like React 17. Well, NPM doesn't know. It's going to bring in both. It's going to bring in React 18 and React 17. Cool, good to go. But it's going to blow up on the page because now you got two versions of React, and that's no bueno. Perhaps you could use yarn link to share between the others. Message retracted. Well, okay. How do we share assets between Micro-Fes, even non-JS files? You'd have to use, to share assets between Micro-Fes that are not JS files, you'd have to go and have them on an S3 and then share them by URL. Basically. Yeah. So yeah, you gotta think about that. All right, so let's do the cart thing and then maybe we call it a day. But this has been really, really fun. So thank you so much for sticking with me and doing all this stuff. So, because it's cool. And of course, again, if you just want to like pick up and continue on, like you just go over to the free Code Camp version, and then you'll get the version that's not like me in a weird shirt, and it's me in a nicer shirt, probably also, finishing up the tutorial. And then you can spend the rest of your Saturday with that guy, the old me. Okay, so let's go and continue on. Let's go over here to cart. And now we want to go and add the functionality that allows us to talk to the cart, right? So we got Jot here. So the next thing we want to go ahead is add a behavior subject for the cart, right? And we're going to have some helper functions. We're going to have clear cart, that calls that delete. We're going to have add to cart that calls that that does a post and then adds to that cart. And then we're gonna have a get cart, which actually goes off and does the get against cart. And each one of these does that bearer authorization, just like we saw earlier when we looked at that README. And then the only difference here is we're gonna go down here and we're gonna say enable get cart. So there you go. And so that's gonna go get the cart the moment that you log in, because that's the kind of thing you wanna do, is you wanna get the cart. And so let's go off and build a UI around this. And we're going to call this one the mini cart. And it is going to be a kind of a classic module MF micro front end, right? It's going to be able to talk to the server. It's going to maintain its own state. It's going to show the cart, and it's going to, all of that good stuff. So what is it going to do? It's going to have the list of items in the cart. Starts off as undefined. It's going to have a toggler for showing and hiding the cart. And then when cart changes, because we got that RxJS cart, we subscribe to it. And then when it changes, we set our items. This is pretty much a standard. There is actually a nice little like RxJS React hooks library that does this sort of stuff for you for free and does a better job of it than I'm doing here. So go check that out. I think I did a video a while back on RxJS and React. Okay, so now we're going to go and, if we have a cart, we'll put up a little shopping cart and we'll then click on it and we'll show the cart and all that kind of good stuff. So let's try that out as well. So, okay, let's go back over here to our app and we'll bring in our cart, our mini cart. And I'll show you what it looks like. Mini cart. I like mini cart. That's cute. All right, and we'll take a look over at our cart app and we'll log in, and now we've got a cart. And we click on the cart and we got our cart elements. Cool, nice. So let's do the same thing over in our header. So now that we have, first thing we need to do is expose that. So go down here and we'll add on mini cart to our list of exposed MFEs and modules and restart. And while we're waiting on that to work, we'll go back over into our header and we'll bring in the mini cart. Okay, cool. Wait, that's cart. That's not that. Okay, header over here. Yay. Mini cart. Mini me. Okay, mini cart. Cool. So let's hit the homepage header. Cool, and we'll hit this, Sally. Hey, now we have got a cart. So when we're logged in, that MFE for the mini cart shows up, and we can get the list of all of Sally's items in her cart. And it's got some functionality for clearing cart and checking out. But we're going to go and add the add to cart functionality down here that's going to add that item to that cart and see if that works. So let's go here to our homepage. And, home content, that's part. Okay, and so in here, we've got add to cart, which is an exposed item from that shared cart module. And we'll call add to cart if we get it. So let's add to cart the product. Does that work? Let's try it. Let's see. All right, so here we go. Let's refresh. Let's log in, and what do we want? We want that one looks good. Gears within gears. Add to cart. And there we go. Oops, that did not work. Cool. Oh, I know. It's probably like product.id, I'm guessing. I'm going to go with that. All right, let's try it again. Let's get rid of her cart. Bye. And then we'll do dragon spinner. Oh, that is awesome. Rainbow flames, solid rainbow. So check it out, man. That is so awesome. We've got the homepage here that's running the homepage code. It's doing add to cart. And behind the scenes, it's connecting through that RxJS that has the publish and subscribe mechanism to the MFE, which is that cart. And so now we're getting state sharing between those two. And that's why, for example, in this case, that is so, that state sharing being RxJS is so important. Of course, right now we used RxJS for that. We could use something, because we're only doing React, we could use something like Valshio or Zustand or something like that that's more React specific. If I had some more time, and then actually the next thing up, if you head over to Free Code Camp and look at that video, because we're probably going to wrap it up here, is to create a solid.js component for add to cart, which would be over on the PDP page, and it uses that same mechanism to talk to add the cart, but from solid.js as opposed to from React, and it shows you how to embed a solid.js application onto a React page. It doesn't use single SPA, but it still works. Let me just wrap up by answering a few questions, and then I'll go run to the kitchen and get some water. Okay, so let me pick up where I left off. Is RxJS subscribe functionality between share and return? The expose a global to the window? No, it is not. You could do it as a global to the window. You don't need to. Okay. I guess for a company, if you have a design system, it can be built on an npm package. When you create a new FF, you could create a script to create your personalized MF app, including CSS. That's true. I mean, I created MF app to make it easy for you to create prototypes. Like, I have people who've asked me, like, hey, can we add ESLint? Can we add Prettier? Can we add this? Can we add that? I'm like, it's supposed to be the smallest possible thing to get you module federation. It's not meant to be the end all be all. It's not meant to replace Create React app. It's meant to just give you like literally the smallest possible booter app for module federation. Okay. Is sharing state by using React context a viable alternative to RxJS? Yes, it is. If it is just React, then absolutely. If you have to marshal that, if you have non-React stuff in your tree, then you've got to figure that one out. That's on you. Okay, so question, why was there a need to import icons library in the header when we are importing the login component? Right, because of CSS. That's why. I am 30 minutes late to the stream. Okay, great question. Module federation only allows you to share JS. And that's the same for everything, honestly. That's not just like, oh my gosh, that's some crazy, limitation of module federation. I don't know of any sharing technologies, be it System.js or Require.js or whatever, that allow you to transport stuff like, CSS as CSS, right? You can do CSS and JS, but that's not CSS. Like, that's JS that generates CSS, and that's fine. So if you want to do CSS sharing and have it be attached to the Micro-Fe, so you only get those CSS classes when you bring on the MFE, then use CSS and JS. Cooper 111, so is this still as a mono repo? This, as we're looking at it right now, has never been a mono repo. It is a mono repo in the fact that it is all within one directory, but that's just because I didn't want to have 5 different, or 4 at this point, different VS Code windows up. There is no linkage outside of module federation between these applications. None. It is not I do monorepos. I love monorepos. They're great. Use NX for your next monorepo. It's fantastic stuff. I don't work for them, but I think it's great. This is not a monorepo. It is literally just a single directory that has multiple directories within it. Okay, so still working here. Your decision between RxJS and Valshio, and asked since used it in both videos. I've used all kinds of different state managers. The reason I used RxJS in this case is because of something we just haven't gotten to within the time frame allotted, which was the next step in this is to use solid.js to also make an add to cart button, showing that you can have multiple view frameworks on the same page, and RxJS allows for that because it's not hardbound to React. I wouldn't want to bring in React into my solid.js app just to go and get access to Valshio. How to use module federation with an NX monorepo? It's very, very easy to use module federation in an NX monorepo if you're doing Angular, because the Angular architects have done a fantastic job of creating an Angular plugin that upgrades applications either in an NX monorepo or not to use module federation. Did a fantastic job on that. I can't outdo them on that, so I decided not to even compete on that, which is why I didn't create MF app to do Angular. In terms of React, I have not gotten it working yet. That being said, I haven't really tried, so just putting that out there. Okay. Wow. I think I'm going to wrap it up. This has been amazing. I've never done a live stream this long. I will put in the. I thank you for bearing with me on that. I will put in the comment section a link to the free code camp video, and on that free code camp video, you will probably, let's just jump over to that. I probably have it sitting around, right? freecodecamp.org. Does that have his YouTube? Let me just go check that out. YouTube free code camp. Hey, look at that. Okay, cool. So yes.
Jack Herrington.
Okay, here we go. So I will copy and paste that down into our comments. Come on. Where are you? Okay. All right. I'll put that in the comment, a link to this. But what you're looking for to pick up where we left off here is cross-platform micro-frontends. So you got 5 more steps to go. But other than that, I super appreciate you all coming out and hanging with me. And enjoy the rest of your Saturday, whatever you got going on. I'm going to go watch the Canes game. Go Canes. I will see you next time.